Hey everyone, joining the live and watching the replay. Tanishka the Moon Woman and I are about to dive into a discussion on the GRAIL. Tanishka, if you don't already know her, is an incredible woman, teacher, mentor, guide, sister, friend. She's taught me so much over the years, and I'm so grateful to have her in my life and very honored to have her sharing her wisdom here with you all. You're all very lucky to have a little taste of this special woman today. If you have any questions on the GRAIL, please feel free to write them down. We'll try and answer as many as we can. And if you have any questions come up throughout the interview, feel free to pop them in as well. So I'm just requesting for Jane. Yes. And those of you watching the replay, oh!
Oh, fucking hell. I'm so sorry. Thank you for your...
Good. It happens almost every time I do a live, so...
Oh, sorry to everyone who's been waiting. I even meditated this morning and did like EFT to tap to get rid of tech stress.
Oh, tech stress. It's real.
Anyway.
We did it.
That is past. Thank you so much for your patience, darling.
Of course. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Very clapped, very excited.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just share a little bit about how we met before we dive in. I met Tanishka like 3 years ago now, maybe around that. And she was teaching a rites of passage facilitator training, and I fell in love with her immediately. First, we were chatting via email, and I was like, who is this person? And then I saw you come speak in Byron Bay, at one of the venues in Byron Bay, on the training. And then I was lucky enough to come along to the training, and I just witnessed, I feel like, feminine empowerment in human form. But you seemed like, you looked like this ancient goddess who was so humble and so kind to everyone. We were all goddesses and we're all sisters, and you treated us all with so much respect, even though you had so much responsibility and so much that you had to carry out. And it was just so beautiful to see you in that powerful place, but also with so much love for everybody that was there. And then you shared mind-blowing, heart-opening education to us all, and every word that came out of your mouth felt like it was coming from my own heart, and I was covered in goosebumps with the wisdom that you shared. And yeah, I just fell in love with you so deeply, and ever since, now I know you as a dear friend who makes me laugh more than anyone else I know. And yeah, I'm just so happy to have you here.
Oh, bless you. I could kiss you all over. I mean, it's such a mutual appreciation society. I'm like, I look at your page and it's just like, fuck, you need your own parade, you know? Like, nobody loves the yoni like you do, you know? You're such a beautiful blend of, you know, everything that people love about Instagram, which is seeing, you know, gorgeousness. You know, it's such an aesthetic platform, but you do it with your beautiful Scorpio moon. You serve up all of this really edgy shadow truth, but in this package that looks like a centerfold, and it's like, huh? Fucking awesome. It's just what the world needs. So, yeah, love you to bits. And thanks for having me. And yes, I fell in love with you immediately as well. I don't want the equivalent of a bromance. Like, for sisters,
Homance.
did we have a word?
I don't think so.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. For those that don't know, we used to do a podcast together called Blood. Was it Love, Blood, Sex, Death? Was that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheery topic. But yes, you might want to sort of go on Apple and listen to those if you enjoy our chat today. But yeah, I just love chatting with a sister that can go there, you know, and go there with humor, because that's, you know, what we need to do. The world is eclipsed by shadow right now. So we've got to go in. We've got to, you know, put our big girl pants on, our big gumboots. We've got to go into the shit and have a damn good laugh about it, because that's how we're going to transmute it, you know.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
Mm,
100%.
yeah, yeah. So, well, I mean, do you want to ask me questions,
I'd love
or
to.
otherwise, you know me, I'll just talk till the cows come home. So,
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah, I wanted to talk about your book coming out today. Is it coming out today? Or is
well, so we actually pre-launched it on the new moon in Virgo last Tuesday, which
right.
was a deliberate thing, the sign of priestess, um, because, well, you know, Virgo is the sign of the Virgin, and the word virgin is a complete, you know, sort of distortion. As you know, the word virgin originally meant priestess, a woman that was unto herself sacred and sovereign, and really discerned, you know, that her body was not a theme park, and if you were going to enter into her sacred opening, you could only get there by opening her heart first. And yeah, that word got distorted into little girls who haven't yet been opened. And so, whilst the priestesses were prized amongst women because of their wisdom, yeah, it then became that little girls were the prize. And we've
Yep.
ended up with a culture of pedophilia and sex trafficking. So, that's just one of the things that the Grail will shift if we can bring back this tradition of the Grail. So yeah, to answer your question, we opened pre-sales last Tuesday, but
Yep.
the book itself is launching on the 22nd of the 2nd, 2022, because I've been seeing
Right.
222 everywhere, which is about the beloveds coming together. So everything that is happening in our dystopian circus right now, try and keep us all apart. Yeah, it's to
Yeah.
create, to create discord and polarization and conflict, because they know when we come together in true union, and I'm not talking about get it on chicka bow wow, but you know, in total aligned union, we are unstoppable. Yeah, we are. This earthship is back to Eden, yeah, back to a place of love and beauty. So that's unstoppable despite their best efforts. Anyway, I'll just
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
it
I love
and let
that.
you answer.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the division isn't only like with other people, it's a lot, there's a lot of division within, because there are these two very polar things going on in society at the moment, where it's like everyone is trying to do their best for themselves, for their community, for their lovers, and it's like there's a lot of information coming from polar ends of the spectrum, and there's creating a lot of sort of dis-ease and discomfort and disconnection within. And I read your book, Sacred Union Within, as well as The Sacred Union with a Partner. Uh, they were mind blowing. They healed so much of my fragmented parts of myself with my masculine and with my feminine. But then the one with the partner, Jesse and I read it together. We would at sundown, we'd turn off the lights, light candles, and we'd read to one another. We'd take turns reading to one another. And yeah, they are such a gift. They were such a gift to my relationships, to relating with myself and with Jesse. Um, and I love that that is such a big part of your medicine here, like connecting us to ourselves, but also connecting us to each other. And I feel like the Grail is going to take it that one step further, because it's almost like it's approaching the start, almost like the start of the distortion, the start of the disconnect of, you know, our, especially for women when we're going, I mean, I haven't read the book yet. I've only started reading chapter 1 and I'm like, oh, give me more, but I really want time and space so I know it's magic and I know every word that I read I want to soak up, so I need time and space to really journey with it. I'm reading it on my own. I'm not reading it with Jessie to begin with. And yeah, I feel like from what I've read so far, it's almost like it's taking me back to where a lot of our traditions and connection has been sort of disconnected. And yeah, I'd love if you could share anything that you can, little sneak peek into that, if that's
yeah.
possible.
Oh, please. I've got thoughts going off like popcorn. Synapses like,
I can imagine.
My God, I get so excited. So, yeah, look, I do want to say just at the outset, I was chatting with a practitioner the other day. I was having something called bioresonance, which is fucking awesome. So nano. It's frequency healing. And because everything right now is about raising our frequency. And, you know, she was saying all of the other sort of school mums that she was chatting with was saying that there's a lot of polarization in couples at the moment about what's going on because the women are tuning intuitively and the men are looking rationally, and that's creating a divide. Okay, not between all couples, but how we're going to get through this shift as a collective, and it's happening regardless, is to embody the feminine within, and that's men as well as women. And so during patriarchy, there's this misnomer out there that the white man has been the victor of patriarchy and men are to blame for the world, and that's utter horseshit. So, you know, men have not fared any better out of patriarchy than women. And the thing is that the oppression has been the oppression of the feminine traits, the feminine qualities, the feminine values, the feminine understandings and customs and culture and wisdom, right? So for women, because we are physically female, you can't hide the fact that we're feminine, the oppression has been more overt. It's been more external in terms of, you know, we couldn't get the vote for ages, and then it was about equal pay and all of that. Whereas for the guys, the oppression has been covert, hidden. They're not allowed to express their feminine side, or they risk persecution and, you know. So a lot of guys are stuck, if you will, at the stage psychologically and emotionally of the night. So just like for women in our chronological journey, we have the stages, the life stages of the maiden, the mother, the mage, and the crone, which is not hag, but meaning crowned with wisdom. Mm-hmm. The guys have the stages of knight, king, magi, and sage. Now, most of the global population of men are stuck at the stage of knight, even if they're 50, right? Mm-hmm. Because as women, we are initiated by our bodies. Yeah, it's like when you're 12 and you get your period, it's like, oh, fuck. You know, that's pretty big. It's like, ooh, I could create a life. Like, shit. Like, that slaps you upside the head with a fish, and you have to. Whereas boys don't get that, do you know? And so that's why all Indigenous cultures initiated the boys. But here's the elephant in the room: it was done by the women, not the first rite of passage into manhood. That was done by the men, absolutely. But when men reached the age of 21, they didn't get the key to the city, they got the key to the mysteries. And that's when the Magdalens initiated the men to grow up. So the elephant in the room, folks, is the collective masculine whether that's being expressed in a male or a female body, because there's a lot of masculine dominant women after 5,000 years of patriarchy is stunted emotionally and psychologically, and this creates suffering for them. Okay, the suicide rates for men are off the scale. They're bigger than they've ever been, and especially, you know, with all the crap that's happening. But their life expectancy is shorter. You know, they're more isolated than women. I mean, we go into a public toilet and we're like, "Hi, how you doing?" So anyway, we start talking about, you know, whereas men, I mean, they don't dare even look to either side for fear of, you know, homophobia or whatever. So men are isolated, and they have this deep shame about their feminine traits, a lot of them, you know. So that really comes up midwinter, and that's when men are most at risk of suicide, illness, injury, depression. And that is when the Holy Grail used to happen. The annual rite of passage to assist men through the darkest time of the wheel, the most feminine inward time of the year. And Rome, the empire of Rome, outlawed the Grail. They knew that if the men were stunted, they would give their allegiance over to the empire. So this is why women were burned for 500 years, that held mystic knowledge. The mystics, the witches, we are the greatest threat to the total dominion of these dynastic families. Yeah, so this is why the feminine is rising right now, and she is speaking. She is like, this is, you can't stop it. And we have waited thousands and thousands of years for this. And I mean, the Aquarian age, it's the sign of the cupbearer. What is the cup? It's the Grail. It is women's mystic wisdom. So this is the key. This is the solution to get out of this cycle of entropy that is destroying the sacredness of life on our planet. I don't know if that answered the question.
Oh, more than, I'm pretty sure. It was, yeah, thank you.
I don't think I did actually. But could you remind me what the question was?
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly, yeah, pretty much. I was saying how the other books that I read of yours were so empowering and so helpful regarding my relationship with myself and with others, but then how does going into the Grail, which feels for me like it's going back into where distortion began, and yeah, what you're saying is this lack of initiation is where the power is being removed from each individual and essentially handed over to dynastic, organizations, essentially.
Yeah.
You answered it beautifully.
We are all feminine and masculine, which is, you know, something I speak about in those sacred union books. And at the moment, the youth generation, understandably, they're rejecting this polarized view of gender to the point where they're opting out altogether and saying, fuck, I want to be gender neutral. Like, I don't want to be part of this, you know. And, you know, we've really lost our way without our original sacred rights. I mean, most of us, if we look at the Indigenous people in the lands that we reside in, we get what a travesty it is, the loss of culture. Because when you lose culture, you lose identity, you lose your wild spirit as a people. But the thing is, most of us in the Western world, our ancestors were conquered by Rome all throughout the Celtic lands and throughout Europa. And so we've been colonized, we've been displaced from our indigenous lands, our spirit of place, and our sacred customs, our culture, were taken away from us. So we have suffered the same fate, if you will, as the Indigenous, a different expression of it, but we have we've lost our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes us, what would you say, susceptible to accepting what I call the devil's bargain,
Mm-hmm.
which is whether that's working for a corporation or in a toxic culture, or, you know, doing something that doesn't resonate with your soul, with
Mm-hmm.
your core essence and your core values.
Mm-hmm.
And so our human rights will not be reinstated without our original sacred rights. And that is the piece of the GRAIL, to give it back to anyone who's from an Anglo-Saxon or a European lineage, in particular, so we can get our fucking self-respect back, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel
Instead of
like
having shame about, oh, I'm white and I've fucked up the world. It's like the same shame that the men are dealing with. Shame will cut you off at the knees. You
yeah,
know,
totally.
if you're feeling shame and it's internalized and you don't even know that you're carrying this cultural shame, it's like, it's pretty hard to, you know, hold your head up high and be proud of who you are, let alone
Yeah,
take right action.
totally. And I feel like it also makes us more susceptible to misogyny and self deprecation and feelings of inadequacy and needing to buy things to feel whole, or to use substances to feel whole, or connected, because yeah, that is that huge hole that's missing, that was our connection to self, to source, to community. And it's also very like there are blinders up almost, if you feel like, I remember seeing an Indigenous sister share a meme once saying something along the lines of, you don't need to use our cultural or our spiritual, like, paraphernalia essentially, or customs. um, you have your own, you just have to look back a little bit further. And for me, that has been so connected to women's work and to my cycle, and to, yeah, all of these teachings that you share as well, that we it's right there, and we just haven't had access to it, and it's been largely demonized. You know, some people that come into this work from a very patriarchal family or culture, and they can just be met with so much resistance because, or that they feel so much resistance because it's not factual, or it doesn't, where's the science, I need proof, because they're coming through from this, yeah, this kind of very oppressed culture where only science is God, and or God is, monotheistic gods are God, and anything about the feminine is just untrusted, and there's no space for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, what we're dealing with is basically misogyny, which, you know, people hear that word and it's a taboo word. It's a loaded word, and people are like, oh, well, I don't know. I think I've got something to do now, you know. But all it means is the fear of the feminine. And because we've not been initiated into the true feminine, both men and women, we tend to fear what we don't understand. And so all of
Totally.
us, men and women, have internalized misogyny because the culture that we've grown up in and has conditioned us is misogynistic. So, and that, you know, it permeates through all of life. And it is disempowering equally for men and women, but also for relationships. So I'll give you one example, and I know you know this, and many of your followers will be, you know, also are on board with this already. That any person that enters into a relationship with a woman, a biological woman, they are entering into a ride where every 2 weeks they're going up, and then after that, every 2 weeks they're coming down. Now, a lot of women themselves don't know they're on that ride once they hit fertility, once they start cycling with the moon. And so that's why we have so many girls, you know, self-harming, whether that's through eating disorders or cutting or, you know, because in the luteal phase, when they're on the down low, they're spiraling psychologically and emotionally and energetically. Now, you then add that to partnership, okay, or to parenthood. That impacts the quality of our interpersonal relationships. If we're like, going down to the underworld for 2 weeks, and we don't have a language for that, we don't have tools, we don't have any supports, any social scaffolding to, you know, couch that, it breeds a mistrust of the feminine, because it's like for 2 weeks we're like, oh, friendly, social, you know.
Yeah.
Right? And then for the next 2 weeks we're like, you know, the closer it gets to our period, you know. So and if we don't understand the gift of that descent, of course we kind of fear it, and we grow up, you know, with our mums going, fuck, she can be a bitch sometimes, and then she can be so loving. And so we have this internalized dichotomy, this with our mums, whether we're male or female, of I can't trust my mum because sometimes she's the destroyer goddess, you know, which is the dark phase of the cycle. So initiating men into the GRAIL, which is effectively secret women's business, right? It teaches men the benefits of the descent with their partner so that it doesn't create fear and disharmony in relationships. And so men know how to journey with one who is cyclic, because men's cycle, men are cyclic too, but it is an annual cycle. They're ruled by the sun, whereas for us it's a monthly cycle because we're ruled by the moon. So, and yes, I know we're all masculine, feminine. It's not that men aren't affected by the lunar cycle and women aren't affected by the seasonal cycle, but the foundation gender that your soul chose to incarnate into, you will be more sensitive to either the solar or the lunar cycle. So, you know, for men, their annual period is over the month of winter solstice. And that's when women need to know, don't pester him to fix the back door.
Yeah.
Let him man cave. You know, just how can you support him through his deepest, darkest time when he's facing his inner dragon? And likewise, if women are taught how to do that, then the men are going to be more understanding and supportive of us once a month when we're in our deep, dark time, rather than, you know. So this is why we need to understand we are not linear. You know, we're expected to think that we are meant to be bright and happy all the time, and we're meant to be productive like we're machines or computers. We are sentient, cyclic beings. And until we get that and learn how to do life as cyclic beings, we are not going to create a sustainable world, because we as individuals are not sustainable emotionally, mentally, energetically. I mean, this is why we have such huge rates of depression and anxiety. I mean, the mental health on the planet right now is just at an all-time meh. So this is so timely, this information for now.
Yes. That, I was going to say that.
Coconut water. Hang on, I forgot.
Yeah.
The call. It's just here. I can just slide the container.
Perfect.
Dude, darling, I was just getting parched.
Yeah. I'm happy you're looking after yourself. Yeah, just in response to that, it being such perfect timing. I mean, when I started with chapter 1, I was feeling exactly the same. I just felt like it was, I felt like your words were soothing balm for my nervous system, like literally. And yeah, I can't wait for Jessie to read it now as well. Jesse's in the middle of doing a training with you already, so I'm not sure if Jessie will wait till that's finished, or if they'll dive into the book as well. But yeah, I'm really, really excited. Someone just asked me, can this book be a doorway to discovering who we are, our identity? Question.
Oh, what a lovely question. Okay, let me answer that as best I can. If you're specifically asking about identity, then I would highly recommend that you start with, for women, it's the descent of Ishtar or the descent of Inanna, which is the subject of my first book, which is called The Inner Goddess Makeover, which is a step-by-step workbook for women to literally identify the 7 archetypes that govern the energy centers and that together comprise the feminine half of our psyche. Now, I do offer that as an online course, but we just had an intake start last week, so the next intake won't be for another 6 months. For the guys, the equivalent is a descent called the Descent of Orpheus. And there's an online course for the guys starting end of October. Check out the page and register their interest if they're into it. It's called Rainbow Warrior Multidimensional Masculinity, and that's my website, themoonwoman.com, under online resources. Both of those are GRAIL practices. So the GRAIL used to have many different paths of initiation that aligned with the power of the natural cycles, the lunar cycle, the seasonal cycle, the solar cycle, on the understanding that they are initiating us to grow and mature. So those 2 descent paths ideally are done, sort of over autumn and winter. And that's when our shadow comes up, the disowned, wounded, unintegrated aspects. And it's also the most challenging time for partnerships, and for the psyche in general. So it's to support people gently, step by step, to look at what's unconscious and to integrate the psyche by meeting all these different facets that make up the full spectrum of our masculine and our feminine identity and expression. So yeah, that, I don't know if that's, answers the question. This particular book, The GRAIL, this maps the ancient religion of love that was the GRAIL. So it gives you an overview of all the GRAIL practices, and it is specifically focusing on the empowerment of the collective global masculine. Okay, because let's be honest, right now we need the hero to awaken in every man and in the masculine of every woman as the heroine. And a lot of them are kind of stuck in stasis watching superhero flicks rather than being the hero and taking right action. So this book takes you through the hero's journey in 12 stages, in calling us to adventure and what it is we need to do to turn this planet around.
I love that.
So the 2 specific archetypes that this GRAIL book really focuses on is the mystic with women and the hero within men. And these are the 2 archetypes that were most suppressed when the GRAIL was outlawed. So for women, if we dared express our inner mystic, which is the inner wise woman, we would have been branded as mad, persecuted, ostracized, ridiculed, locked up, burnt, drowned. For men, it's the fear of failure, the fear of looking like a fool. So a lot of them don't even try. They don't even start their hero's quest to do what it is that lives in their heart. You know, what they really, yeah, which is why we see so many little boys wearing superhero costumes in the supermarket as preschoolers. And then when they finish school, they go and do some job that really doesn't resonate with their soul because they're doing it for the money. They're doing it for status, it for power.
Yeah, and
Because
then
the
look like a fool.
right. The message they get over and over again is no one wants someone that's not successful. Women want someone who's... So they betray their souls. They take that devil's bargain to do something that their heart really is into. And then they become lost. It's like, you know, if you're not doing what it is that your heart and your conscience is compelling you to do, then you will become an addict. Or whether that's to drugs or alcohol or porn, you will start making life negating choices because you're not living your life. You're not honoring the gift of life fully. So, you know, that's what we need. We need to acknowledge the fact a lot of people are living life at the level of the mind, the ego, and not the heart. And a hero lives life from the heart. In any moment, they're like, what is my heart telling me to do? And they follow that. And the empires punished people for living from the heart. So that disempowered our men, and our sacred warriors became pawns in the industrial military complex. They became soldiers, they became policemen, you know, who do the bidding of the empire, who don't represent the people at all. So that's what we need to address and, you know, liberate at the moment. Yeah. I'm a bit passionate about it, as you can tell. Really like fired
Beautiful.
up.
Yeah.
Have we got any more questions, or have you got any more questions? Like,
I'll have a little look, see if anyone's asked anything.
and there's no silly question.
Yeah, anyone who's on live now and has just heard Tanishka speak, please feel free to ask away.
Yeah.
A question that I have is, what is like a concept in the book that you feel some people might find really difficult to accept or to understand?
Ooh. Let's just go in there, shall we?
Why not?
I'm going to use the M word, menstruation. The holy blood, the sacred blood, the life-giving blood. This was once revered, and it was part of this initiation. And without men receiving a sacred blood rite, they unconsciously seek out an unconscious blood rite, which is war. They seek to become blood brothers, or through a bloodbath be reborn as a true man. So that's the big one. We're not going to create peace on earth by writing that on a Christmas card. We are going to create peace on earth when we honor the sacred blood instead of persecuting it, making it as unmentionable as Voldemort from Harry Potter. You know, and so that means, well, part of the Holy Grail rite was for men to meet the black goddess, the dark feminine, she who bleeds. And only by facing the fear of her, Kali Ma, Lilith, Sekhmet, Oya, the dark goddess, the destroyer face of the goddess, will men be able to transcend their fear of commitment, their fear of losing their power if they truly merge with their beloved. So this is at the very core. And it manifests in lots of ways that sabotage intimacy, whether that's, you know, the men that have a pseudo partner, someone who is their emotional, psychological wife, and then rather than fully commit to her, she's there to process all their emotional, psychological stuff like a mother. They then go around and do polyamory, or, you know, it's like we have, or the absent fathers, or the ones that have the mistress on the side. All of this comes from the sort of the Greco-Roman culture. Back in ancient Greece, the wife was pretty much a celibate woman who stayed at home and just looked after the house and the children. And it was acceptable that the men would be out, you know, having sex with concubines, and also pedophilia. That was acceptable in ancient Greece. And we wonder why our modern culture, which is built on the values of Rome, you've only got to look at all of our buildings of state with their iambic columns. I mean, we're still in Rome, folks, you know, and the empire has to go. It is killing Gaia. It is killing the people of Earth. So, yeah, I just kind of went all over the shop then, but you get the gist of it, you know. It's what has been made out to be the enemy is in fact the savior. Okay, we have been indoctrinated to fear the psychic power of the feminine, which is most powerful when a woman bleeds. We have been taught to fear the blood. We've been toxic, when in fact it can turn grey hair back to black. It can heal cuts. There's a reason that the ancients worshipped it as a magical elixir. I mean, we think about stem cells. I mean, this stuff is pure life force. So, you know, the big thing in the book is I kind of lift the lid on the origins of Christianity, and it's all a distortion of the GRAIL. Yeshua was persecuted because he was practicing the GRAIL. So this is deep. This is big, you know. Yeah, yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like we're all very lucky to have heard that from you. There are a couple more questions in here.
Oh, goody.
If you have time. One is, what's the best way to bring our men to this work of reclaiming their heart and honoring their feminine? Is that in the book?
Beautiful. Okay, so yeah, look, the book is a step-by-step introduction for men to the true feminine within themselves and within women and the earth, so that they can stop fearing the feminine and they can really embrace the feminine wholeheartedly. So that is the book is a gift. It's not about shaming and blaming men. It's a gift to the men to bring them home from war, being at war with themselves, at war with women, at war with the mother. Yeah. In terms, there's a kind of a second part to that I would say, and that is for the women to understand your cycle, you know, for you to heal any shame you feel about it, and to seek initiation so that you honor your cycle. Because you know, first and foremost, we need to understand and empower ourselves in order to truly love the feminine in us, so that then you know, we can allow ourselves to be truly loved by our partner. So all of this is about healing and true insight, true understanding, because all healing starts with thought. And if we have a distorted belief, okay, that in itself is toxic and the wound can never heal. So we've really got to, well, unveil the truth. And that was what the ancient priestesses did. And that's why we're in the time of revelations, the revealing of truth. You know, this is the time for us realizing the degree to which we've been deceived. And, you know, I'll get fucking biblical on you, but, you know, we're taught that at this time it's been prophesied that we will become aware of the great deceiver. And it's like we're living in Oppositville. Everything that we've been taught is a direct inversion of the truth. And so, you know, those that have purported to have been the most devout and holy have in fact been the most evil. And religion, which has politicized spirituality, has created more harm in the world than any other vehicle. So it's about really rooting that out of the garden and just saying, hey, and that's for anyone watching this getting nervous going, is Tanishka the Antichrist? No, I'm not. Yeshua, which was the original name, it was the Greeks that renamed him Jesus. He was totally honoring of the Grail and of the feminine mysteries. His mother was a virgin, a priestess. His partner was a Magdalene, a woman that initiated people into the Grail. So his teachings have been so distorted. So anyone that's like, oh shit, she's not a, you know, no, love Yeshua, love his work, okay? Love King Arthur. You know, the guys that did get initiated into the Grail were fucking awesome. Yeah, legendary. So I'm like, let's have more of that. Let's have more sacred kings and sacred warriors. Let's have, you know, yeah. So that's where I'm coming from.
I love that. I love that. To anyone who's tuned in a little bit later in the video, go back to the start once I post it, where Tanishka shares on the original term for virgin, the etymology of virgin. Then there's another question: will we be making season 2 of Love, Blood, Sex and Death? We haven't really spoken about that before.
Oh, season 2. Maybe instead of committing to a whole season, just because I'm feeling a bit stressed at the moment, maybe we could do a one-off. Do you know what I mean? A special for different times. Thank you for even asking about it, because we love doing it. Okay, we absolutely love meeting up for a good old gas bag once a month and sharing that with everyone. But yeah, I'm just got a lot on my plate. I'm currently trying to put together a proposal to seek investors to create a retreat center where we can do all the Grail practices, so people can come and be initiated. So
amazing.
Yeah. Huh?
So amazing.
Yeah.
I see it happening. Beautiful. Okay, so we have one more question. How can I best support our male partners at this time?
Oh, beautiful. Well, it depends where that question's coming in from. So for those in the Northern Hemisphere, you are coming up to what's called the Black Wedding, the autumn or fall equinox. And that's kind of like the death knell that happens every year in partnerships, where the shit comes up, okay? So the chance of having an argument sometime around the 23rd of September, you could almost schedule it in your diary. So if that happens, it's all over, Red Rover. It's an opportunity to grow, to go, right, we'll go to our corners, we'll look at what was triggered, we'll look at what my fears are, and then after we've journaled and processed, we're going to commit to come back and face each other and take off our psychic armoring and own what our own lesson was in the dance. And for those that want more detail on how to do that, I've got a conflict resolution course on my website called Conscious Relating. You might want to check that out.
Yeah.
For the guys, for those in the Southern Hemisphere, we're coming up to the spring equinox, and that's the White Wedding. And that's when well, in the GRAIL tradition, where the women would kind of button up their chastity belt for 6 weeks and say, I'm going to do my annual reset, not the global reset, but my checking in with myself and saying to myself, right, how have my values changed? How have my needs changed? What do I need now? And exercise discernment. So it's not just, oh, I'm in a relationship and you therefore have access to me and my body 24/7. I'm taking space. I'm taking, I suppose, sanctuary or retreat within to check in with myself, to wed to myself as a cyclic practice, right? And understanding or educating our menfolk that that's not us withholding sex to punish. Okay, it's not done as a manipulation. It's done as self-care. Like, unless my cup is full, how can I then be full of the cup of human kindness and give that to you? Yeah, it's like I need to fill up my cup. I need to go within, and the feminine is very internal. It is the inner realms. And if we do that, if we really give that to ourselves around the spring equinox, 6 weeks later, it is on. That's Beltane. That is like the love fest for, when you feel so horny because, the blood temperature heats up, like the sap rises in the trees, and it is on. So between the spring equinox and the Beltane, that's the ideal time to do a conscious courtship. Whether you're partnered or single, that's a time for, dating, for romance, for spending time with each other where you're exploring mentally, emotionally, on every single level, not just sex, so that when you do come together again, it's at another level. It's, so yeah, basically it's about, in terms of how can we help our men, it's about educating them as to how cyclic life is, how cyclic we are. And when we understand and align with those cycles, we grow gracefully, like the Fibonacci, the sacred spiral, into our blueprint of divine potential. Whereas if we don't understand those cycles, we unconsciously create disaster, meaning to go against the stars. Life becomes hard, it becomes a struggle. Or it becomes about who's taking out the garbage, who's picking up the kids from soccer, and it's just like that kills. There's no art of love in that, so we've lost the sacred love arts, and that's what the GRAIL brings back. It teaches people self-love, sisterly love, brotherly love, devotional love, courtly love, and erotic love.
Oh, so exciting.
I know, right? And given that we've done 1,000 years of war, it is time to bring this back. Yeah, because we're all loved up. Who the fuck wants a war? No, much rather have cunnilingus in the sun. Or if we're really loving each other, we'll just look at them and go, bugger off, I'm not leaving this. Yeah.
In the sun.
Yeah, speaking for myself.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for sharing all of that. That was really, really beautiful. I feel like we all got so much more from this talk than I had planned. So I'm really grateful for you sharing so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I feel like I'm going to burst because it was 2008 when I got very clear guidance. It was time to awaken the GRAIL codes, and then 2013 I did my first tour, and then took it around the world. But this book has been gestating then, and feeling like burst. I can't get it out. Oh, I should say, speaking of bursting, on the full moon next Tuesday at 11:11, I invite everyone to join me live, um, because again, I'll be just holding court if anyone's got questions, and I'll be speaking about the Grail and why we need it at this time. So that'll be live on my Facebook page, The Moon Woman. So
Okay.
yeah,
On the Moon Woman page, not your
yeah,
personal page. Okay.
no, Woman page on
Yeah.
Facebook. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
can we put the link to pre-order the book in the post?
Yes, I'll put it in the post. However, it won't be clickable. So what I'll do is I'll share it in my stories as well. I'll share like a clip of this video in my stories with a swipe up.
Okay.
And then I can also put a link in my bio. So I've got a bunch of links in my bio, so I can just pop it in there. I'm so happy to do that. So happy to support you in any way in this work possible. So
Thank
that you can just, anyone watching, just go to my link and then you'll be able to find it. I'll do it straight after we finish this call.
Thank you so much, because I'm insta ignorant, as was ascertained early on today, but appreciate that. Just so anyone knows that's watching, the first 3 chapters of the book you can access now if you pre-order the Kindle. So that's the link that I was asking Kiki to make available to you. So, but go and watch the trailer. The trailer for the book is kick-ass. It's like
Yes.
it's like
So good.
Hollywood, it's like a cross between Shrek and Harry Potter. It is so cool. I cried the first time I watched it. And that was thanks to Tony, my beautiful video editor in Bali, and my dear brother.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, Tony did.
Awesome.
Yeah, he surprised me. He stayed up all night to create it, bless him.
Bless.
I have such good people around me. So yeah, go check out the trailer on the page.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I feel so honored. And yeah, anytime you wanna share on here, just let me know. Someone just said, thank you, Tanishka. I've been following you for years, and it's always such love and deep wisdom that you inspire us. Love you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah, I wish we could all just get in the one room, you know. Yeah, here's to
Same.
buy location.
And someone also
really...
asked when. Oh, sorry, go.
No, go for it.
Someone also asked when the paperback will be released.
Good question. Thank you. So you can get that on the day that the book launches, on the 22nd of February next year. So the way Amazon set it up, they only let the big corporations, the big publishing houses, take pre-orders for paperbacks, because the number of pre-orders determines the number of sales recorded on the first day, and that's how they determine who's a bestseller. If you get 3,000 pre-orders, you're a Wall Street bestseller. If you get 9,000 pre-orders, you're immediately a New York Times bestseller, and then you get really good ranking on Amazon and all that. So they kind of weighted in favor of the corporations so that independent authors don't have the same equal playing field to become better. So but for every person that pre-orders the Kindle, you help with the ranking of the book. So yeah, that would be just peachy. Thanks.
Totally.
Yeah, really want to get this message out to as many people as possible, So
We
yeah,
might
but
make it to Hollywood like you did with the Goddess book with Britney Spears.
that I'm like, huh? I'm like, oh fuck, I want to be in Hollywood. I mean, it's the most seedy place. Remember when I took Ollie there, my son, and even he at 12 was like, oh, the energy here is revolting. But yeah, that's true. She has loved my Inner Goddess book, bless her. So yeah, did a shout out, bless her. So yeah.
I mean, that's probably where your work is needed most. So that's incredible that it got there.
Oh, look, I mean, yeah, I'm grateful for her generosity of spirit to, encourage her followers to check it out. But this thing is unstoppable. We are going through a quantum shift in evolution. Everything they're trying to do is to try and stem it. There's no stem in this. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
this is, yeah, it's like a galactic tidal wave of light. And it's always darkest before the dawn. And that's what it is right now. But let's focus on the birth and what we're birthing. And it's a return to love. It's a return to living in sacred union with each other, with ourselves, with the earth. So, yeah,
Totally.
don't be fooled by illusions. Yeah.
Yes. And Emily also said, please keep us updated on the retreat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I will. Well, when I've got this proposal finished, we're going to do an intensive. It's going to take about 30 hours to put that together. And I met with my mentor on Friday. So I would say within a month I'll have that. And so, yeah, thanks.
Amazing.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
We're all holding the vision for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that. Because, you know, you're kind of like, shit. Okay, I've got my own hero's journey here and go, this is possible. The vision that lives in my heart is possible. Let's give it a go. So,
100%.
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, if anyone you can. If anyone can do it, you can do it.
Thanks. I just looked up and it was 12:22. So there's the 222 again.
Beautiful.
I say it 3 times a day. It's ridiculous. But it's about finding our power through coming together. Yeah, it's like this is the time of union. So hence all the isolation they're doing. But yeah, just it is a time of union. And every day give yourself a time of union, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, which means union. But yeah, it's like communing with nature, communing with your cat, your dog. It's like, or making love. Just, you know, allow the practice of union to be what keeps you sane as we go through this, you know, transition phase of the great rebirth.
Thank you. Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you also, Tanishka. I feel really, really lucky and really blessed.
Oh, well, love you. Thank you.
I love you.
All right.
Thanks for joining, everyone.
Cool. All right. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Bye.
Bye, darling.